Welcome in, everyone. You are watching our continuous live weather coverage on this highly active and incredibly dangerous weather day. Today is Sunday, May 17th, 2026, and we have an extraordinarily complex and volatile atmospheric setup unfolding across multiple regions of the United States right now. If you are tuning in from the Central Plains, the Southwest, the Rockies, or the Eastern Seaboard, you need to be paying very close attention to this broadcast. We are tracking everything from a massive severe weather and tornado outbreak in the nation's midsection, to late-season heavy mountain snow in the Rockies, to critical fire weather and damaging winds in the Southwest, and a suffocating, record-breaking early-season heatwave baking the eastern United States. The extremes we are witnessing today are staggering, and we are going to break down every single threat, region by region, minute by minute, so you and your family can stay safe. Right now, our immediate focus and our most pressing breaking weather alerts are centered directly over the Central Plains and the lower Midwest. We currently have a significant tornado watch in effect until 11 o'clock tonight Central Daylight Time for north-central Missouri. This is a very volatile situation. The National Weather Service out of Kansas City and Pleasant Hill has been incredibly busy over the last few hours issuing multiple severe thunderstorm warnings. And these are not your run-of-the-mill spring thunderstorms. We are talking about confirmed radar signatures showing ping-pong ball-sized hail and destructive wind gusts exceeding 60 miles per hour. If you are in the path of these cells, specifically near Galt, Trenton, Laredo, Humphreys, Osgood, Rieger, or Browning, Missouri, you need to be taking this seriously right now. These storms are moving northeast at a brisk 25 miles per hour. Ping-pong ball-sized hail is large enough to cause significant damage to roofs, siding, shatter windows, and completely total vehicles that are left outside. If you are caught outdoors or driving in this, it is an immediate threat to your life and safety. You need to be indoors, away from windows. Right now. Do not wait to hear the thunder. The atmospheric environment ahead of these storms is absolutely primed for severe weather. We have incredibly warm, moist air streaming north from the Gulf of Mexico colliding with a very potent cold front crashing down from the northern plains. And this clash of air masses is acting like a match to a powder keg. Let's talk about the meteorology behind what is happening in the plains today, because it is crucial to understand why this threat is so severe. We have a slow-moving frontal boundary extending straight across the midsection of the country. This front is being energized by an unseasonably deep low-pressure system currently ejecting out of the central high plains. The amount of convective available potential energy, or CAPE, in the atmosphere right now is off the charts for this time of year. Dew points have surged well into the upper 60s and lower 70s across eastern Oklahoma, eastern Kansas, and western Missouri. When you combine that thick, tropical-like moisture with the intense daytime heating we saw earlier today, you get an incredibly unstable atmosphere. But instability alone doesn't cause tornadoes or organized severe weather. You need wind shear. And unfortunately, as this upper-level trough swings through, it is bringing severe directional wind shear to the region. The winds at the surface are blowing out of the southeast, but up at the jet stream level, they are screaming out of the west-northwest. This change in wind speed and direction with height is causing the updrafts within these thunderstorms to rotate. That rotating updraft, the mesocyclone, is the engine that produces large hail and tornadoes. As we look toward the southern flank of this system, extending down into Texas and Arkansas, the threat begins to shift slightly from tornadic to an extreme flood and heavy rain event. We are watching a plume of deep, tropical moisture riding the periphery of a strong high-pressure ridge parked over the eastern U.S. This moisture is being funneled directly into the Ozarks and the Mid-South. As the cold front slows its forward progress tonight and into Monday, these heavy thunderstorms are going to train, meaning they will move over the exact same areas repeatedly. Much like train cars moving over a track, the Weather Prediction Center has already highlighted eastern Oklahoma down through the Ozarks and into the Arklatex region with a high risk for excessive rainfall. We could easily see localized rain totals exceeding 3, 4, or even 5 inches in a very short amount of time. Flash flooding is going to become a major, life-threatening issue after dark tonight. If you encounter a flooded roadway later this evening, you must turn around. Don't drown. It only takes a few inches of moving water to sweep a vehicle completely off the road. Now, let's completely shift gears and talk about the eastern United States. Because the weather story there is the exact opposite of what we are seeing in the plains. We are tracking a massive, sprawling upper-level ridge of high pressure that has anchored itself over the eastern third of the country. This ridge is acting like a giant dome, trapping sinking air and causing temperatures to skyrocket. We are looking at a full-blown, early-season heatwave that is breaking records as we speak. Temperatures across the interior mid-Atlantic, stretching down through the Carolinas and even into parts of the Ohio Valley, are climbing well into the middle and upper 90s today. But it is not just the actual air temperature, it is the extreme humidity pooling underneath this high pressure. The heat index, what it actually feels like to your body, is easily pushing past 100 degrees in cities like Raleigh, Richmond, Washington, D.C., and Baltimore. This level of heat in mid-May is incredibly dangerous because our bodies simply have not acclimated to it yet. We are barely out of the cool, damp days of early spring. And to suddenly be thrust into mid-July style heat is a shock to the human system. If you are outdoors today anywhere in the eastern U.S., you have to practice heat safety. That means drinking copious amounts of water. Not just waiting until you are thirsty. It means taking frequent breaks in the air conditioning or the shade. Look out for the elderly, young children, and absolutely check your backseats. Never, ever leave a child or a pet in a locked vehicle, as temperatures inside a car can become lethal in a matter of minutes. This oppressive heat is going to remain locked in place for the next several days before a backdoor cold front finally brings some relief by midweek. But the sheer bizarre nature of today's weather map doesn't stop with extreme heat and tornadoes. If we travel west, crossing the continental divide, we are thrust straight back into winter. That is right. In the middle of May, we are tracking a highly unusual late-season snowstorm. A very deep, unusually cold upper-level trough has carved its way into the Pacific Northwest and is currently digging down into the Intermountain West and the Great Basin. This system is pulling down unseasonably frigid Canadian air. Because of this, we are seeing significant, accumulating snow across the higher elevations of the Rockies, the Wasatch Range in Utah, and pushing into the Front Range of Colorado and the mountains of Wyoming. We are not just talking about a light dusting either. The National Weather Service has winter weather advisories and even winter storm warnings posted for elevations generally above 7,000 feet. If you are traveling along the I-70 corridor through the Colorado Rockies, or heading up over the mountain passes in Wyoming tonight or tomorrow morning, you are going to encounter treacherous, fully winter-like driving conditions. Wet, heavy snow is going to coat the roadways, reduce visibility to near zero in heavier bands, and could bring down tree limbs and power lines because the trees have already begun to leaf out for the spring. This wet, heavy snow clinging to spring foliage is a classic recipe for widespread power outages in the mountain communities. This cold air will continue to plunge southward, bringing temperatures 20 to 30 degrees below average for much of the interior Northwest and the northern high plains by Monday. And as if all of that wasn't enough, we have to look further south and west toward California, Nevada, and the desert Southwest, where an entirely different type of extreme weather is occurring. The interaction between that cold, deep trough plunging into the Rockies and the heat trying to build out of Mexico is creating an incredibly tight pressure gradient across the Southwest. When you have highly contrasting pressure systems packed closely together, the atmosphere tries to balance it out, and the result is wind, ferocious, damaging wind. Right now, the National Weather Service in Las Vegas and San Diego has issued widespread wind advisories that remain in effect through late tonight. We are seeing sustained westerly winds of 20 to 30 miles per hour, with frequent, violent gusts blasting upwards of 45 to even 60 miles per hour in the most wind-prone mountain passes and canyon areas. The Morongo Basin, the eastern Mojave Desert, the Cadiz Basin, and stretching all the way over toward the Colorado River Valley are getting absolutely hammered by these winds right now. These winds are creating two massive hazards. First is the immediate physical danger. Winds blowing at 45 to 50 miles per hour are more than strong enough to rip shingles off roofs, blow around unsecured patio furniture like dangerous projectiles, and snap tree limbs onto homes and power lines. Driving is incredibly hazardous right now in the Southwest, particularly if you are in a high-profile vehicle like a semi-truck, an RV, or a delivery van. The crosswinds on Interstate 15 and Interstate 40 can and will blow vehicles entirely out of their lanes or even cause them to roll over. The second, and perhaps even more terrifying threat in the Southwest today, is the critical fire danger. We are dealing with an incredibly dry air mass in place over the desert. Relative humidity values have plummeted down into the single digits. When you combine bone-dry vegetation, single-digit humidity, and 50-mile-per-hour wind gusts, you have a catastrophic fire weather environment. The National Weather Service has red flag warnings draped across vast swaths of the southern high plains, New Mexico, Arizona, and Southern California. If a spark ignites today, whether from a dragging tow chain, a discarded cigarette, or an arcing power line, that fire will spread at explosive, uncontrollable speeds. Firefighters would have an incredibly difficult time containing any blaze in these conditions. It is absolutely imperative that everyone in the Southwest exercises extreme caution today and avoids any outdoor activities that could produce a spark. Let's circle back to our primary severe weather threat in the midsection of the country, because the radar is incredibly active and we need to keep you updated on this locked and severe weather event. The Storm Prediction Center continues to monitor the atmospheric parameters, and they are holding onto an enhanced risk of severe weather stretching across a massive corridor of the plains. as we progress through the late afternoon and into the evening hours. The daytime heating is maximizing, and these supercell thunderstorms are erupting along the dry line and the advancing cold front. When we look at the velocity scans on the Doppler radar right now over northern Missouri, we are seeing intense inbound and outbound wind couplets. This indicates strong rotation right at the cloud base, even if a tornado is not officially on the ground at this very second. The environment is so ripe that a funnel cloud could drop with zero warning. You cannot afford to wait for the tornado siren. If a severe thunderstorm warning or a tornado warning flashes on your screen or alerts your phone, you must act instantly. Get to the lowest floor of a sturdy building. Put as many walls between you and the outside as possible. An interior bathroom, a closet, or a basement is your best chance of survival. Do not waste time trying to look out the window to see the storm. Especially today, because these storms are highly precipitation loaded. That means the tornadoes are going to be rain-wrapped. You will not see a classic visible funnel. You will just see a massive, dark wall of rain and hail. And by the time you realize the tornado is buried inside of it, it will be too late to take shelter. As we move past midnight tonight, the severe threat doesn't just vanish, it evolves. The discrete, isolated supercells that produce the massive hail and strong tornadoes are expected to congeal into a massive, forward-propagating squall line, often referred to as a mesoscale convective system. This massive line of storms will begin surging eastward across the Midwest, tracking through Missouri, Illinois, and eventually menacing the Ohio River Valley by tomorrow morning. As this transition happens, the primary threat will shift from tornadoes to widespread, destructive straight-line winds. We could see wind gusts embedded in this line reaching hurricane force, 70, 80, or even 90 miles per hour. These winds will bow out the radar signature, creating what meteorologists call a bow echo. When you have a massive squall line pushing through in the middle of the night, it is exceptionally dangerous because people are asleep and do not hear the warnings. You absolutely must have multiple ways to receive weather alerts tonight that will wake you up. Leave your weather radio on. Make sure your cell phone is fully charged. Turn off the Do Not Disturb feature, and set it to maximum volume. The sheer scale of this weather pattern is largely being driven by the larger global climate drivers. Specifically the transition we are seeing in the equatorial Pacific. We are looking at an El Niño pattern that is exerting a massive amount of influence on the North American jet stream. The subtropical jet stream is incredibly active, pumping relentless moisture from the Pacific and the Gulf into the southern tier of the United States. Which is why we are seeing such an elevated flood threat from Texas to the Carolinas. Meanwhile, the polar jet stream is dipping wildly, creating the deep troughs responsible for the western snow and the massive ridges causing the eastern heatwave. This highly amplified, blocking pattern means these extreme weather setups are moving very slowly, prolonging the misery and the danger for the affected areas. To summarize the situation as we stand right now, the United States is experiencing a highly dangerous, multifaceted extreme weather day. We have an active, ongoing tornado watch and numerous severe thunderstorm warnings ripping across Missouri and the Central Plains, producing ping-pong-sized hail and rotating updrafts. We have life-threatening, record-breaking heat suffocating the mid-Atlantic and the eastern seaboard. We have winter weather advisories and significant, Heavy accumulating snow burying the high elevations of the Rocky Mountains. And we have howling, damaging winds and critical, explosive fire weather conditions tearing through the desert southwest. No matter where you live in the country today, the weather is actively trying to disrupt your life. We are going to be here with you, tracking every single radar scan, reading every warning as it is issued by the National Weather Service, and providing you with the critical, up-to-the-minute information you need. Do not let your guard down. Check on your neighbors. Make sure your safety plans are fully in place. Secure your outdoor belongings if you are in the wind zones. Hydrate if you are in the heat zones. And keep your eyes glued to the warnings if you are in the central severe weather zones. We will continue this live, unbroken coverage right after this quick data update. Keep it locked right here as we track these dangerous storms moving across the nation.